Hey, you're watching Just Hoop Talk on YouTube. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and show us some love.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about a couple teams that were eliminated, the Clippers and the Celtics. We're talking about what went wrong and how we think they're going to rebound, or if they are at all. Stay tuned.
You are now tuned in to the next best thing. Justin Henry, Real Thompson.
Yeah,
Let's go.
y'all can talk that talk, but this is just Hoop Talk. Updates on the news, analysis who's who gon' win, who gon' lose. Is it true, is it true? This is just Hoop Talk, this is just Hoop Talk. Ball.
All right, guys, welcome back to Just Hoop Talk. So we're talking Clippers and Celtics. And first, let's talk about the Clippers, man. What a disaster of a season. Going from championship favorites to getting eliminated in the second round after being up 3-1 to a young Nuggets team, man. What are your thoughts on the Clippers now that Doc Rivers has been fired and they've been eliminated from the playoffs?
That's crazy. And that's something we talked about on a few occasions, their inconsistency throughout the year. Them looking like they could turn it on and off whenever they wanted.
Yeah.
Guys not showing up for stretches, guys not showing up for practices and getting kicked out of the bubble. I think, at the end of the day, it came down to leadership, right? Like, they didn't have clear leadership. It's got to come down on Doc Rivers. There wasn't a clear message or a clear direction for this team, and Doc Rivers had to go. I still think he's a really good coach. That was a difficult situation. I think he's really good. I don't think he's great. I think a lot of people try to make him out to be a great coach. I don't think he's great. I think he's really good. I think he can make your team good. I don't know if he can make your team great, though. But, yeah, he had to go. Some changes are going to have to be made in L.A., man. What do you think they have to do to make that next step?
Well, I think they started off with the right move. Doc Rivers, to me, is a little overrated. Actually, I think he's extremely overrated. I think he was gifted a big three team with the Celtics and hasn't been able to reproduce the results since then. He's had some really talented teams there in LA. I think that Lob City team was strictly underrated. And now this team that they had was also a championship favorite, and to go out in the second round up 3-1, it's inexcusable. So if he goes to another team, he's got a lot to prove that he can actually be a championship pedigree coach again, because I'm not sure that it's really there. And I think they're going to have to make some roster changes. I don't like the Kawhi, Paul George pairing. I think it lacks what we talked about, leadership. There's not a strong leader in that room. As much as I like Kawhi as a player, I think that he's lacking that part of his game, and he's probably more suited to be a number two behind somebody, a really strong number two player, kind of like you see with the Brow and LeBron in LA. And Paul George isn't that guy. Like, I hate to say it. I just don't think that he's that guy to be a number two piece. Strong number three, or a really good number two on a bad team. But if you're looking to win a championship, Paul George can't be that number two piece. I think we saw that just because of the inconsistency, unless he develops that. I think they have to move him. And the right piece would probably be a big. I think a scoring big, somebody that can take the pressure off of Kawhi on the inside, but also get some outside shots if Kawhi goes to the lane is what they need. Because they got the scoring. I think they got the defense. They just don't really have that big factor. All their game is outside. And if they're not, they're inconsistent like Paul George showed us that they can be. Lou Will was really inconsistent during the playoffs too. They need a big that they can get a bucket late in the game, just go down and get a bucket. That's not a Kawhi mid-range or an ultra effort two-pointer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if Patrick Beverley is your vocal leader, you got problems, man. I like Patrick Beverley, like him defensively, but he can't be your leader. He can't be your vocal leader. You look at a situation like last year with the Raptors, clearly Kyle Lowry was the leader of that team. Maybe he's not the best player on the team, but he was the vocal leader. He was the guy who rallied the troops, who got guys going, who put guys in line when they need to be put in line. And this team didn't have that. And it really showed with Paul George. I feel like there were a lot of players who did not like Paul George and did not like the way that he talked to other people and interacted with. So he's not a leader, straight up. He's not a leader. Yeah. And Kawhi never stepped up and put Paul George in his place and just told Paul George to just shut up, So
I think you want to see that. Like, you want to see something from Kawhi. Yeah. Like, I think he's won so far in the past by being on strong teams and not having to be that guy. But when you go to LA and you're like, hey, I want to pick my number 2 player, like you got to be able to have that moment, like step up, dude. Like take some type of emotion. I know that's not your game. I know you're calm, and maybe that's the best way that you play. But we got to see something. If you want to be the greats among those great small forwards, among those great players, I want to see it from Kawhi. And he probably don't have it. I don't know if he does or not, but I want to see that from Kawhi. He's got to have that in him somewhere, man. And we're probably not seeing all of it, but I want to see it come out on the floor, like some type of passion for when something goes wrong or when they need that like spark. I want it to be him. I want that from Kawhi, you know? Like I think I'm missing that from Kawhi.
Definitely, and that's probably going to haunt him for the rest of his career unless he's able to right that ship and step up and be that guy. I would love to see them get a true leader point guard, someone who can really lead that team.
Who do you think that could be? Like who? Like who do you think would be an ideal fit in that type of system? You know,
I would love, and I know I've talked about this before, but I know there's no way it's going to happen. But I would love to see Chris Paul there, man. Like, I think Chris Paul would be perfect for that team, but I just don't. I don't think that bridge that.
Probably like Kyle Lowry, right? Or like Kyle Lowry.
Yeah,
like
Kyle Lowry will be perfect, but he's not. Yeah, he's not coming down there. So I don't know. I don't know if they really have. You know, if there's an option out there for them. We'll see though, man. We will see.
I mean, they're going to be haunted, and the thing is, they're going to be haunted by that decision because of that trade that they made, giving up multiple first rounders. They gave up Gilgeous-Alexander. They gave up Danilo. Like they gave up so much to get Paul George in a crunch. It's like they gave up a lot of their assets, their first round picks for the next, I think it was like 3 or 4 years. Like they don't really have a lot of options outside of trading one of them, you know?
Yeah, there's some solid point guards in this draft too, man. Like yeah. Would have been nice to have.
We'll see, man. And it sucks because when you see a team that has such aspirations, but then they fall short, it's like, man, you wonder, where are they going? Is their future bright? Are they going to have to make changes? Right. I think we're kind of talking about the same thing with the Celtics, like where do they go from here? Because that was a really strong run and it looks like they're on the rise. Will, what's your take on the Celtics overall as constructed? You think these guys got what it takes to make another finals run?
Yeah, personally, I think that was their best window to get to a championship and win a championship. I think the Celtics, as constructed, are done. I think I'm not saying they got to blow it up because I love their young core. They got a great young coach. They got 2 great buddies. Like, I would say, Jason Tatum's a superstar and Jaylen Brown is on the edge. They have 2 young players that they can build around, but the way the team is built right now, they're not winning anything in the East, man. Like, they're not better than the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
They're a fuzz better than the Toronto Raptors. And we got to remember, Kevin Durant's coming back next year, and he's going to be in the Eastern Conference. So that window, man, that door is, like, slammed shut on this team as constructed. They need more, man. They straight up need more. I like Marcus Smart, but I think he's kind of reached his ceiling as a complementary role player. They need that third guy, that third scorer. They need more, and they're gonna have to get out there and make some trades and make some moves for sure, man. I'd say watch for them to make some moves this offseason because them as constructed, they're not winning a championship like that.
Man, that's a strong thing coming from and they just performed really well, I think, and they were obviously a couple games out from the finals. So we know what they're capable of, but as constructed, I think that they're a little small. I'd like Kemba, Marcus Smart, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, but that feels like damn near 4 guards at all times on the court. And really no big presence. They got Daniel Tice, Robert Williams. Also know they got Cantor, but like they need a dominant big because they have so much tied into their backcourt. And it's like I think Tatum playing the 4 might be a stretch for him, even in the East. He's probably more comfortable at the 3. Jaylen could probably slide into the 2. And you got Kemba playing the point, like Marcus Smart being more of that bench role player, that dog, that spark off the bench instead of your starter. And Gordon Hayward, I mean, they got him too, like a whole bunch of wings and really no big. So I think you're right on with the trade. I think Gordon's probably the odd piece out. Like he doesn't really bring a whole lot to that team. It seems like his coming back to that series didn't really have too much of an impact, to be honest.
No.
I think he's a good player, but I think if you could swing him and get like a big, you send him to Philly, get maybe an Embiid or try to work out a deal to where you can get like an impact big, somebody who can take a little bit of pressure off of Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And that team can be dynamic. But I think you're right. As constructed, I don't know if they can make another strong finals push like that with the teams coming back retooled, but who knows, man? Do you think, is there a player you could think of that would make them a championship contender again in your eyes?
I like Joel Embiid, but I don't know. I feel like he kind of slows teams down. We'll see. I think Gordon Hayward is this huge trade bait, and their draft picks are going to be huge as well. So I'd be interested to see. Danny Ainge he's a savvy dude.
Yeah.
He's going to make some good moves. I'm really interested to see because I think they're going to be active for sure. Looking to move some picks, looking to move some players. I don't think Kemba's safe, honestly. I think Kemba really underachieved in the playoffs and in the bubble. I think he was a disappointment. And I personally, I don't think he's safe there. I think they got two guys that they're riding with, and everybody else is like ready to be moved, man. I really do think that.
Kemba really reminds me of what Isaiah Thomas was in that offense. Just like a spark scorer every time, really a liability on defense, especially when a lot of the switches are happening in playoff series and it's designed to attack the weak spots. He got exposed a little bit in this series. I think he's a good player. I'm not sure that he's a superstar player, but I can see him getting moved too. A couple pieces I think that will be good. I think Miles Turner's coming up on a contract year. I think that might be an interesting piece to get there. Like a good shooter, somebody who can come in and block some shots, make a little bit more of an impact than Daniel Tice. Although I think Tice is a good player too, a little bit more of an impact, and I think they have room for that too with Gordon Hayward, with Kemba's contracts. I think that they can wiggle out and either pair one or two of those up and get an elite big. So I don't know, man. We'll see. I like the framework though. Don't get rid of the framework. Stevens, Tatum, Brown, you can't get rid of that framework. Everything else, I think, is definitely up in the air. So, any parting thoughts on that, man?
Nah, man. I think these are two teams that can still, honestly sneak up and be great next year. But they got to make some moves. Some changes have to be made, and time will tell. Time will reveal. So we'll see, man.
Time will tell, man. Well, does it for another episode of Just Hoop Talk. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let us know your feedback. You think that the Clippers will rebound? You think the Celtics will rebound? Or you think they're both toast? Let us know in the comments. Just Hoop Talk, another edition in the books.
All right, guys.
For more NBA, college, and hoops coverage, be sure to subscribe to Just Hoop Talk podcast on YouTube and all streaming platforms.